All right. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? So, it is late night, and of course, I am on sharing, and this is going to be the start of my 60 days. But before we get into this, you guys know what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and get that theme music, and then we'll come back and talk about our topic, which is don't let abuse change you. Definitely don't want to do that. So let me be quiet and here we go. God's gift through his word. It's God's gift through his word. It's God's gift through his word. It's God's gift through his word. All right. I am back with you guys. So, yes, I was just giving you a slight intro into the title of this particular podcast slash content slash stream, and it is called Don't Let Abuse Change You. So, definitely don't want to do that. So, I wanted to talk about that because there's always something that needs to be talked about. And because I have just done that PBS special with those lovely ladies and Miss Laura Flanders, I wanted to still continue talking about that because there's other abuses that happen, and sometimes we kind of don't talk about any of them. But in particular, we'll be talking just about general abuse. And I think we're going to just tailor this one to, of course, domestic violence. It might go somewhere else as well, but for now, we'll just do that. So before we get started, I normally do Bible studies on here, but and not on here because I haven't been on in a while, but normally do my Bible studies whenever I'm going live. But today I will be pulling a little bit of scripture, and hopefully during this entire 60 days, I will definitely be utilizing more scripture, and I'll be definitely using John 15 for a lot of this with the relationship between Christ, the relationship between others, the relationship between the world. And definitely want to talk about that. But we're going to go ahead and just jump into this topic right now. So, we do have a purpose, and you have a purpose. I have a purpose. The Lord has set a purpose for us long before our parents even knew who we were. And sometimes going along our journey, we run into abuse. And you could either have abuse in family, abuse with relationships with significant others. You could have abuse in all myriad of ways and different venues and different places and spaces in your life. And sometimes those different types of abuse, they can cause a lot of damage. And we know it, I know it, you know it. And those damages can be mental and emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual, digital, and they're hard to deal with. And as I share with you guys, I share from a lot of experience of having to really navigate the abuse of all different types of facets. And I'm not going to put a trigger warning on here because I'm not going to say anything triggering. If I do, I might go back and edit it to say trigger warning, but I'm hoping this is benign enough that it doesn't cause anyone to be triggered. But if something doesn't sound right or it troubles you, please turn this off. Take care of yourself because I definitely want you to do that. I don't think I'm going to be bringing up a whole bunch of things as far as the situation of old abuse. So it should be okay. So when I talk about this, and I talk about it for a myriad of reasons, not because I'm trying to give myself a pity party and not because I'm trying to put anybody, on blast, but I am trying to help others to be aware and be cognizant of abuse. And as long as I have breath to talk about it and speak about it, I will. So when I was going through my different abuses and domestic violence in my life, it was just easier to bury all of it. And some of the abuses I went through when I was younger kind of led to the abuse that I had when I was older, and all these different things, kind of these escapes. And when I look back, I saw that I was trying to navigate and handle these abuses in such a way that was harmful to me. And it wasn't always easy. So sometimes people will think that you're just doing stuff and they have things to say about you. They pull you down. They try to destroy whatever self confidence that you have. And people say you don't need self esteem and self worth. That stuff is slightly, just a tiny bit important. It's not hugely important, but it does help to have some of that so that you know that your worth, your value, and all of that, if you are a believer, if you're a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, all that is wrapped up in Jesus. But when you don't have a healthy view of who you are, then mm, then you start to wonder, you start to drift. And excuse me, one of the things I find is when I share, some people might take the information and might take the advice and they might use it. And then some other people, it's like, I'll listen, but I'm really not going to do anything. And that's the part that's kind of scary is you understand what to do, you know what to do, but you're not going to do anything. See, I found that me going through abuse, it decimated a lot of who I was for a long time. I was a shell of myself. I lost who I thought I was. I lost who I was prior to the relationship. And then coming out of it, I'm totally somebody different. I mean, I still have my kind disposition. I still love to talk to people, but for a long time, all of that had been put on pause. And I remember feeling that guilt and the shame of it, wondering, how am I going to overcome this? How am I going to get out of this? What can I do? What is going on? And sometimes you don't want to share this stuff because you will feel at times like, I think I've gone through all of this stuff, and who's going to want me after this person has in your mind and what you might say. I know I said it is, how am I going to find anyone after this relationship after I have been damaged or wounded so bad? Who's going to want to deal with that? And it's just like you have to be very, very careful who you tell what to, because people can tend to utilize what you shared and they can use it against you. And sometimes people will say things in such a hurtful manner, especially when they don't get what they want. So they'll use your pain as a way to kind of maneuver or change the way you have rejected them or you haven't given them what they wanted. And that's sad. And I'll give you for instance, I, a few years ago, and I still sometimes play around on the chat line, but a few years ago when I was living in California, I, not knowing any better, I had I had found a gentleman that I was talking to just to get to know, nothing serious at that moment. And he was expressing to me that he was interested and wanted to get to know me better, all that great, wonderful stuff. And then he asked me about my prior relationship. Now, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know he's going to use it against me. I just thought we're having a conversation, we're getting to know each other. And as I learned later, that was not a good thing to do. But anyway, I disclosed to him that I had been in a relationship and the gentleman who was my ex was abusive and it just it just didn't work out. Now, nowadays I wouldn't share that, but at that time I did. And so he took that information and we kept talking. Everything was fine until one day. One day he told me, he said, "You know what? I'm going to come up and I'm going to come and see you." Lived in a different part of California. And I said, "Oh, okay. That's interesting. Well, what are we going to do when you get here?" He's like, "Oh, well, we're going to go to a hotel and I'm going to, be intimate with you." I'm like, "No, you're not. That's not about to happen at all." He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Yeah, that's not my intention. I'm not going to do that. So if that's your intention, you probably shouldn't come up here." He's like, "Oh, yes, we're going to do that." I said, "No, we're not." He got so angry and he's like, "Now I see why you went through that abuse. Are you sure you didn't cause it? Are you sure you didn't say anything? Because I think I know why you deserved it." I'm like, whoa, nobody ever in this side of life or hereafter or anytime deserves to be hurt in such a way and someone say, "It's your fault why that person did what they did." I understand that that person was mad because what I did is I rejected what he wanted. So he didn't get what he wanted. I didn't give him anything. And that was not okay. So, of course, end up talking to him and logged him on all social media. He was just not happy that I was doing that. So I was just like, yeah, that wasn't a good thing. See, when things don't go a certain person's way and they want you to bend, but they're not going to bend on anything. They're not going to compromise. They're not going to bend, but they expect you to bend. They expect you to do all the compromising and all the bending over backwards for them and always extending the olive branch, always apologizing, always being the one to say, "I'm sorry," always being the one to say, "I'll be the bigger person. You don't have to worry about it." You being the one to always step in, always, that's a very one sided relationship. And if there's no give and take on either part, on both parties, that's not a very good relationship. And something's going to give, and somebody's going to be very unhappy and end up either relieving the relationship or stepping out. And stepping out's not a good thing to do, just you leave the relationship. I know I did that in mine, thinking that that was the best solution. It was not. 100%. So when I re- reflect, it's sometimes it makes me wonder, why did I stay in that thing for so long? And it took, of course, therapy and therapists to tell me and to make sure that I knew, because I, for a while, was beating myself up over and over again. Like, this should have never happened to me. I was just ridiculous and I was so silly. Like, this was so dumb. But your body does what it has to do to keep you safe. And then I have to remember that there's someone who loved me so much. He gave his life. And on top of that, he chose me. Sometimes we wait for people to see our value, but if they don't, why try to waste your time trying to prove that you're valuable? Try to waste your time trying to show you're a beautiful person to deal with, that you're good natured, that you're kind, that you want to enjoy and express, that you want to be in their presence, that you want to enjoy their company. But if they don't see that of who you are, no sense in trying to push the issue. Sometimes you need to leave someone so that they can appreciate you. And at other times, it doesn't matter if you have left, they still want to appreciate you. And then blame you that you left them. Well, that's your fault that you left me. Like, wait a minute, what? Do you not recall what you did? No, but it's your fault. What? So just be careful about that, and remembering that there is one Jesus who did choose you first. So I'm going to just read a verse. I'm not going to read all of chapter 15 because we'll have time to go through these chapters and some other uh, books of the Bible to coordinate things. But this part here, I found it very important, and I was reminded that Jesus selected us all that are believers and followers of Him. We didn't choose Him, He chose us. So when people don't want you in their life, when people don't see you as valuable, when people don't care and they say you don't offer anything, you don't bring anything to their proverbial table, you don't offer them anything, you don't have any expertise in this, and you lack care, you lack there. Thank goodness that the Lord doesn't require all these different types of stipulations and things, and that you're accepted by Jesus wholeheartedly. It's funny when people say things about you and you just take it on the chin, like, okay. Sometimes people say stuff and they might not mean anything by it, but you listen like, oh, that's how they feel about me. Okay. You don't really have any business skills. You don't really have any business acumen. You're not very creative. You're not very tall. Your weight's not very good. Your hair's not long enough. You're too dark. You're too light. You're not this. You're not that. I wish you were brighter. I wish you could do this. You're not really sociable. All these different things that society and people want to put you into all these different boxes and pegs, and sometimes you just don't fit in any of them. And you were made by the Creator to stand out, not to just fit and blend in. But some people would want you to. But you got to shine bright for Jesus because He is the one that can take care of all your burdens, every single one of them. And the shame and the guilt that I had felt, the rejection, the hurt, the pain, it's been validated. But I needed to find my help and my strength and my hope in Jesus, not in others and them trying to validate me. Any insecurities I had, any anxiety about anything, any kind of self doubt about myself, or any of that was wrapped up, tied up in my thoughts about me because of the things I had gone through. So let me read this passage, or this verse right here. It'll be coming from John 15, verse 16. It says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatever you ask the Father in my name, He may give you." So When we think, oh, I chose Jesus, nah, not really. He chose you. And in my study Bible, it says Jesus made it clear that such privilege rested not in their own merit, but on his sovereign choice of them. He was talking to the disciples at the time that he chose them, each of it, every single one of them, just as he's chosen us. The decision to follow after Christ, it was already there, and he has helped us to solidify that. And just having that gift of salvation, which is by faith through grace, you have that. And I'm so glad he chose me. There's no stipulations, there's no ultimatums to follow Jesus Christ. You must believe and follow after him and commit your life to him. Acknowledge you're a sinner and you can be saved. That part. Don't let the abuse change you and harden your heart. Because when you do go through abuse, it's easy to have rage. It's easy to develop hatred to that person and others. It's easy to isolate yourself and shut down and shut people out and cut people off. Trust me, trust and believe I've done it. And I would cut people off with a quickness. And I work very hard now not to do that, not to cut off relationship. Like, I'm cutting you off because you're not gonna hurt me. And you know what? You made a mistake, cut you off. Like, I was quick at the cutoff. Cut you off. Cut you out of my life. Don't need to talk to you. And I was good at that. Sometimes I still run into having those same kind of feelings of wanting to cut people off and just not talk to people. But I understand that's not a way to be. And I'm growing and I am being intentional about not wanting to cut people off. And I hope you are too. Sometimes there are people that are in your life and they take you for granted. They don't know what kind of special person you are. And they think you'll always be there. They think you'll always be the one that they can call. You'll always be the one that they can run to. You'll always be the one who will make them feel good. You'll always be the one that will have a kind word, an encouraging word, an uplifting word, some discernment, wise counsel. They think you'll always be there and you'll never leave. But when we take people for granted to the point of abuse, when a person is done, and I'm not going to say sick and tired of being sick and tired, when a person is done, mentally done, mentally over it, they'll definitely make the move for the change that is necessary for them. So when you think about maybe some abuses that you've gone through or you're currently going through, hold on to Jesus. Now, there are practical things that you can do if you're in a domestic violence situation. To leave it is the option, and to leave it is the best option. It's not the easiest, but it is the best. And when you're doing that, you want to always make sure that someone knows where you're at. Your loved ones, those who care about your friends, they know where you're at. And as long as we're on this topic of don't let abuse change you, remember to have some time with the Lord. Spend quiet, sweet, precious time with Jesus. Commune with him, learn of him, study him, and don't forget to take self-care for yourself. Take some time out to relax yourself, to decompress, and don't let the abuses that you've gone through turn you into a callous person, a cold person, an apathetic person, a person who no longer cares. Don't let your body go down. And I mean, like, in hygiene wise, don't let that go down because someone has decided they're going to just dismiss you, not acknowledge your existence. See, you have to remember that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. So no matter what someone says or does, the Creator made you. The Creator of heaven and earth made you. So don't let the abuse change you into something that you're not, into a person that you were never meant to be. If you're kind, keep that kindness, keep that smile, keep that love and joy in your heart. Don't let the joy leave. Don't don't let people that you think are close, don't let them tell you, well, this is stupid. I don't even know why you're doing that. Those are the kind of people you need to keep far, far away from you. Whew. So I didn't want to stay on here too long. I did want to make sure I got my first my first video out because I did promise myself I would do 60 days. Whether there's one person here or no person's here, it doesn't matter because I did what I needed to do and I will continue on this message about abuse. Don't let it change you. And of course, back in John chapter 15. So I look forward to talking with you guys again. And hopefully, my night hours will work a lot better than try to do it during the day. So, you know what I say to you guys? I thank you guys for tuning in. And if you like this content here, if you like what's shared, if you like what will be continued to be shared, will you please do me a favor and give me a good like and some really respectful, great commentary? And hopefully, we will get a place. And I mean, a place where we don't have to fight for someone's attention. I don't need that kind of place. I have a place and space with Jesus. And I have to remind myself that daily. And you might have to do the same thing. Remind that to yourself daily that you have a place and space with Jesus. And nobody can take that away. No person, no disease, no sickness, none of it can be taken away. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Well, I hope you guys are going to have a great, great rest of your night. Or if you catch this on a different time, good afternoon, good morning, good night. And you guys know what I'm going to do before I get out of here. I am going to, of course, tell you guys that I'm going to put on my theme song. But before I do, I hope you guys will be blessed, motivated, and always inspired to do what the Lord lays on your heart. Here we go. God gets through his word. It's God's gift.